The greatest power you possess is your ability to choose. Join Lowe's Moore as he reveals how you can begin to maximize that power by exploring yourself on the deepest levels and committing to making lasting and positive changes. Get ready to achieve breakthroughs that will lead to accelerated growth and transformation, because you are now tuned in to the Blueprint.
Why the actions contradict the lamb. I'm fellowshipping when I'm with the fam. That's more relations.
Good evening. This is Lowe's Moore, and welcome back to the Blueprint. I mean, I don't know whether you guys, man, it was a little shaky when we started with the spring a few weeks ago, and man, the weather was like we were still in winter. But man, this weekend was nice, except for just a few minutes ago when it started thundering and we had this loud boom, and everybody jumped in the house, and I was like, "Whoa, what was that?" But it's been nice to be able to get outside, to walk around, to enjoy family. It's just been a powerful experience, man. I'm looking for more of these days every day. I'm excited. And so again, I want to welcome you and thank you for your support of the Blueprint for all these months that we've been together. I'm excited. I was kind of doing a little evaluation because it's been so long. I think this may be my 50th episode of the Blueprint podcast since I started. And I was thinking about like when we went into the pandemic, I didn't know what I was going to do. And then all of a sudden somebody mentioned about a podcast and doing something. The next thing you know, we were up and running. And he gave me some questions. He said like, well, what would you do? What would be the name? And I would say, I don't know. And then I started thinking. And of course, Pauletta Washington, Denzel's wife, when I wrote my book, From the Boys and Girls Club to the NBA, Life on the Now Road, the Lowe's Moore Chronicles, she said my book was like a blueprint. And so that's how I got the Blueprint and the Blueprint podcast. And so when I was looking at some things that I had written down, I had the Blueprint podcast is about personal and lifestyle development and focuses on lifestyle 7 spheres of influence. And the playbook we address religion and relationship, family, education, government and law, media, finance, business and finance, sports, arts, and entertainment. And then I also said that the Blueprint is geared to all ages with a special focus on teens, young adults, and adults. And also a couple of powerful entities I thought about when I was doing the Blueprint was the power of choice. How awesome is that? How important is it to make proper choices? And then personal growth. I always pride myself on getting better every day. Getting stronger every day. Working on my physical body, trying to stay in shape. Trying to work on my mind as a muscle, and try to work on my spiritual life. So personal growth is important to me. And the other word is thinking, because how you think, right? How you think determines what direction and how successful you will be. And also I said this, I was just looking at these things that I had written down, and it said, Lowe's Moore said, before you can change the outside, you have to change what's on the inside. The podcast expresses the power of communication and the importance of making it effective and a practical application. I was like, wow, I said that, I wrote that, so that's what the Blueprint is all about. And I'm excited to be on another show, and I'm excited to make that happen, and here, tonight I found another ball. This is another basketball, my miniature basketball here. And this is my pebble. Denzel Washington said that I was like a pebble in a pond, and that there was going to be a ripple effect. And I'm excited that tonight's show is going to be a ripple effect. And I can't wait. I'm excited. And remember, we're focusing on you know, how to create or build a wealth mindset. Let me throw that pebble in the pond right here, right now. So, but before we get started and we introduce our guests, you know, we got to go through the protocol. Each week we have what we call is the book of the week. Yeah, book of the week. And man, I've read this book before. This is a win-win book, right? By Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I mean, if you want to understand relationship building, if you want to understand people, man, this is an awesome book, man. I remember when I was part of the Peacekeepers, a Peace Corps or Peace Group, and we used to go out into the community. And this book we had to read in order to go out there and meet the community, because there were some tough people out there in the street. And Dale Carnegie's book, that's a must-read book. It should be in your library. You should have that book in your library. Matter of fact, all the books that I've given you over this last year or so, you should be able to build a library, because there's nothing more important than self-investment. You should invest in yourself. And the way to do that is to make sure that you have the information or the knowledge and that you should be reading. And so this week, word of the week. Yeah, we got the word of the week here is networking. We're going to talk a little bit about that this evening with my guests. And networking is a very important, powerful tool, right? That's where relationships are important, and networking is important, and meeting people is very important. And so this week's word of the week is networking. Get to know what that word is, because it will be a very powerful tool that you will need to have in order to be successful. So this week's word is networking. And of course, here is our affirmation or quote of the week. This is from Hill and Pierce Harper. Hill Harper, his son Pierce, they started this when they were on the show, and I just kept it up because I think it's important. It says, you can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you. So it's important to be about other people rather than be about yourself, right? It's important to help people. I think it was Zig Ziglar who said, hey, the more you help others, right, the more those things turn around and come back to you. It's very, very, very powerful to be able to help other people, right? Don't be just about you, but be about people. And I got a few shout outs. I got to get these shout outs in. The first shout out is I want to salute Russell Westbrook, right? And he broke Oscar Robertson's record, this past week. I mean, I don't know if you guys realize how important, how powerful it is to have a triple double. Now, triple double, it means that you have either, double figures in points, double figures in assists, double figures in rebound. And that's what Russell Westbrook did for now going on 4 straight years, right? Oscar Robertson was the all-time leader, but Oscar Robertson missed it was like either a point or rebound or assist. He was a point or rebound assist away from averaging a triple double for his entire career, right? But now Russell Westbrook has done it. He did it 1 year. Oscar Robertson did it 1 complete year where he averaged a triple double. We never thought it would be broken, but Russell Westbrook is averaging a triple double for the last 3 to 4 years, and that's an awesome accomplishment. Also, while we're on basketball, we're about to enter the playoff. Matter of fact, my guest and I, we were just having a conversation, have a conversation about the NBA playoffs. And we want to also salute while I'm thinking about basketball, we also want to salute the WNBA on 25 years of the WNBA. They are celebrating the 25th year. Wow, that's powerful. And they're continuing to grow every single year. And I got a few more shout outs, and then we'll jump right into this here. I got another shout out. Jamal Mashburn. I don't know if you guys remember Jamal Mashburn. And Jamal Mashburn, I don't know if you can really see that down there, but Jamal, after he finished playing basketball, became a big time businessman, right? His earnings, he made a lot of money as a player, but he's making triple, 4 times the amount of money that he made as an NBA player, because during his process of preparing to leave playing basketball, he started to make investments. He started to make purchases. I don't know if you can see that he owns 38 Outback Steakhouse, 40 Papa John's, 3 Dunkin' Donuts, 2 car dealerships, real estate company. I mean, and he's also interested in thoroughbred horse racing industry. And man, that's just awesome. We want to salute, since we're talking about wealth, right? Since we're talking about wealth here, a couple of guys, and here's another guy, Junior Bridgeman, played at the University of Louisville, played with the Milwaukee Bucks, and Junior Bridgeman, right? Like Jamal Mashburn, back when I was playing, they started having franchises, and Junior started to purchase a few franchises, and today, I mean, he has well over 100 of these franchises, restaurants, Chili's, Outbacks, and all those different things. His net worth is about $400 million a year, right? So I want to do a shout out, because they didn't just dribble the ball, right? Like many of our athletes today, they're not just dribbling the ball. Back when I was playing, we was just dribbling the ball. We didn't know what we were going to do when it was over. But Jamal Mashburn and Junior Bridgeman did something after ball, and now you see that many of the athletes today, right, are businessmen. They just not ball players, but they are businessmen also. So let me just rush along here, and I just want to give let you know that next week we have Dave Bennett. Dave Bennett is going to be my guest for next week. I usually wait to the end, then I'm rushing. But Dave Bennett, who's a minister of mission in the marketplace. I'm looking forward to Dave. We're going to continue to talk about creating and building a mindset of wealth. And then after him, at the end of the month, one of my good friends, Dean Bowman, the voice of God. He's going to be awesome, man. This is going to be, I don't know, it's going to be tricky, because he's in Romania, right? He lives in Romania, and he's a gifted singer, and he has an awesome voice. And I'm looking forward to Dean, man. I think it's going to be 7 o'clock. We're going to be doing the show 7 o'clock here. And I don't know, it's like a 12 or 15 hour difference. And he's going to be in Romania, and he will wake up and get on the show, and we're looking forward to it. And I'm excited about that. But tonight, let me show you a little highlight here, and then I'm going to introduce my guest, and we're just going to jump right into it.
Many of you have inquired about what it means to network wise. So I'm going to share with you what exactly that means. Network wise is a verb and can be defined as, number one, to take a proactive approach to relationship development with the ultimate goal of benefiting another individual. Number two, it's to establish value by always welcoming the opportunity to collaborate through conversation. And last but not least, number three, to cultivate a mindset that is immersed in learning the science and art of networking. At the end of the day, it's a habit and a skill that, similar to anything else, needs to be nurtured, or like a muscle, it will atrophy. F.M. Alexander once famously said that people do not necessarily decide their futures, they decide their habits, and their habits decide their futures. So I implore you to network wise one of your habits. I promise that extraordinary things will start appearing in your life, just like they have for mine. Now that you have a better understanding of what it means to network wise, get out there and do it. Not only will it improve your life, but also the lives of others.
The BluePrint, Adam Connors. Adam, how you doing, man?
Hey, how are you, my friend?
I am good. I am good. So before we get started here, we started to talk about you had a little thought on your mind about the playoffs.
You know, I did, but if you don't mind, I'd like to jump in on some of the things that you talked about to the preview of the show. You mind if I address some of those?
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. So first and foremost, Dale Carnegie's book, big fan, have read it a couple times, highly recommend. Yeah, and the quote that you actually used from Hill something or other, I missed that. That's actually a Dale Carnegie quote. Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is.
So okay, I assumed you knew that, but just in case. In terms of the people you talked about, you know, it was really interesting. I was fortunate enough in 2011 at the W Hotel. I was at a private equity investment for athletes and entertainers, and was really fortunate to have lunch actually with Sean Marion and Jamal Mashburn. And so Jamal, he came. I forgot what his net worth was, but I think it's way more than 3 times what he actually made as a basketball player. He was really smart. He was really sharp, and he spoke to some of the other fellow, athletes and other business men and women that were there. And I got to tell you, it was really inspiring. He's very articulate, and I wish I had more time with him. I was thoroughly impressed. You talked about Russell Westbrook, and what most people don't know. So a friend of mine is friends with his business manager, and actually Russell Westbrook is one of the only people. I think I think it's like every other week he sits down with his financial advisor and goes meticulously through all of their investments, what's going on, their insurance, how are things performing? Like, he's intimately involved, more so than most even business people. So the guy's got, he's got his head on straight. Now, let's talk about him as an athlete. I mean, this man is on fire and in a zone. And, I'm not necessarily a Washington fan, but him and Beal, they are on fire. And as I'm sure you know, as an athlete, sometimes it's that inertia, and you don't want to get in the way of that.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, you could not be hot during the season, and you just can kind of get hot, come into the playoffs hot.
Yep.
And what I was thinking about, because I like the Warriors, I like Steph Curry and so forth and so on. I had a thought the other day. I was, just sitting there thinking, like I said, man, I don't think that Steph Curry, I don't know if the Warriors are good enough to win with just Steph himself. But then there's some other tools around them. And I don't know if you remember, before they actually won a championship with Steph Curry, right? You got to go back like 40-something years, I think it is, right? And they were the most unlikely team to win an NBA championship, because really they only had one player that we all can remember.
Kareem? No.
Rick Barry.
Oh, Rick Barry. That's right. The shooter. That's right. Yeah.
Rick Barry. They won an NBA championship with Rick Barry and a group of guys we can't even remember.
Yep.
So you just never know what team is going to get on a streak and just ride that wave.
Yeah, we got the local Knicks that are on that streak right now.
You just never know. You got Randall, and you just never know. One guy, one team can get on a roll, and you just never know.
Listen, you got Coach Thibodeau, who most people don't realize was the assistant coach when the Celtics won those years, couple years back. And a lot of the true basketball guys, Doc Rivers was the front man, and he was the head coach. But if you talk to the players, the credit that, from their perspective goes to Thibodeau.
Yeah. Well, he was definitely, Doc was probably orchestrating the offense.
Correct.
And I know that Thibodeau was orchestrating that defense because he's a hard-nosed, get in your face kind of, coach. And what I like about Thibodeau in this experience with the Knicks, and I think it's taken him a moment to learn it, right? Because I know some coaches that they just get so focused on defense, man, forget offense. We win by playing defense. I love that Thibodeau has made an adjustment, and he's allowing them to, he understands the offense as well. So they're not playing defense, but they're playing offense as well. And all of the New York fans can finally, take their head out the sand and say, go New York, go.
Yep. Jesse Itzler, the founder of that statement or that saying, is probably loving that too.
Yeah. So before we get into the business side of this, so that people get to know a little bit about Adam, talk to me a little bit about the importance of family growing up, your family now, and the importance of family and education.
Oh my God. Where do I begin? When you talk about family, are we talking blood? What are we talking?
Man, we're talking about mom and dad, siblings, extended family, and currently being a father, husband, all those things.
Okay, great. Yeah. So currently, I'm the father of two amazing little ladies, I call them. One is 12, one is 15. I'm married. Going to be celebrating 20 years of marriage in a couple weeks, as a matter of fact. Been together for a few. Say that again.
I was like, woo, 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 woo.
Me too. Depends on what day you catch us in my, but yeah. So married. I grew up in a little north of you, northern Westchester, in the Katona area. Parents were, in South Salem, actually, to be specific. I got two parents, and I've got a younger brother.
Okay, cool.
And what was the other part that you were
education?
Yeah. So I went to high school in Westchester, and then I graduated from Quinnipiac. It was Quinnipiac College at the time. Most people today know it as Quinnipiac University, and most people probably know it either if they're hockey fans, because it's usually like a number one ranked hockey team, or if they've ever received a call, because Quinnipiac does their polling all the time. I don't know if you've ever gotten a call or read their Quinnipiac polls, but that's how most people usually identify with the university.
Well, I know Quinnipiac because I was doing some assistant coaching for Mount Vernon High School, and one of the kids had an opportunity to go there, and then my daughter, and I should do some. There was a WNIT. Yeah. And my wife and I used to go to, when doing the WNIT, we used to be the host. Well, we'd go around and be the host or the coordinator of the games. And I was stationed up at Quinnipiac for a game. And I saw that beautiful hockey stadium.
Yeah, it is.
I saw the beautiful hockey stadium. And then my daughter now is the assistant coach for Fairfield University, and Quinnipiac is a part of the MAC.
Yep.
So every year, that's that home and away, game. So I'm familiar with Quinnipiac.
Yeah. Hey, is Bobby Valentine still the head of athletics over at Fairfield?
I don't know. He's actually he's down the street. it's another smaller college.
Sacred Heart.
Sacred Heart. Yeah, he's down over there at Sacred Heart.
Okay, yeah.
Right around the corner from Fairfield.
Yep. I always get those confused.
Yes. So let's get right in, because I always try to let the audience know, how important is this, particularly when we started the pandemic. Sometimes we lose value, we lose values, we lose morals, so forth and so on. And so during the pandemic, man, there was such a tough time where people were losing loved ones were sick and so forth and so on. So I always start out with the importance of family, because there's a part of family, there's no perfect family. So we have, some dysfunction in family, and we have some function in family, but yet we still love family regardless. They are families regardless. And so I wanted people to be aware of it. Stay close to your family, stay connected to each other, and family is important. It's never too late for people to turn their lives around, so stay connected. And then during the course of the pandemic, we started talking about extended family. I think you were kind of maybe alluding to that family extends. So you have something about extended family?
Yeah, it's not necessarily extended. It's a matter of kind of defining what you consider family. I mean, for myself, there's just some of the relationships that I've developed throughout the course of these years that I consider, more than family. So it's not necessarily by blood. I mean, obviously for my, family, I would do anything, but it's really, just some of the people that I've just been fortunate enough to surround myself with that I consider family. And to your point, now is never, I mean, it's really just shown itself and magnified the importance of those kinds of relationships. We're seeing, and more importantly, those that don't have those kinds of relationships. You're seeing loneliness going off the scale. I mean, it's just going off the charts. You're seeing mass suicides. You're seeing, all of these, the stresses that people that don't have these kinds of relationships, so don't have the outlet. So it's really highlighted this. So as negative as that might seem, I actually think that that's positive, because it's brought a lot of light to this situation. And I really hope that when this whole virus thing kind of goes away, that people don't forget about that.
Yeah, go back to where very rarely we were calling each other. People get so busy, don't call their mom, they don't call their dad. You get busy, don't call your kids. I mean, you got an aunt out there, so and you got friends out there, and doing this this COVID experience, I've been reaching out to like old alumnus from the Boys and Girls Club where I went to high school, college, old college teammates and stuff like that, just seeing how people are doing, and so this just made a family. And when I say family, I mean extended too, all your friends and, all your partners, and even for me, when I was working at the Boys and Girls Club, board members, you just want to know how people are doing, and sometimes you never know when people are alone and out of nowhere, you just give a call to just see how they're doing. And that's very powerful. And that's why I brought up the importance of family and the importance of education, because that's important too.
But yeah, I mean, that's a whole other, I'll roll to education in a minute, but if I could touch on a little bit on the family and the relationships and the connections, they say not having really strong relationships is the equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That's how important it is having those kinds of relationships, having the Lowe's Moores in the world that can reach out to you just to say hello. What you do for somebody when you're putting that call in or sending that text is so important. And you might not ever know what, where someone's at and how the power of that phone call, of that text, of that email. It's great. And, I mean, just think about, how important they are. There was a book written by a lady named Bronnie Ware, and she was a palliative nurse. And for those that don't know what the palliative care is, that's essentially like right before you go to hospice. It's when you're kind of with it, somewhat lucid, but you're dying. And she wrote a book on the top 5 regrets of dying. And I think, of the top 5, like 2 or 3 of them were all tied to relationships, family. And again, that's at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Can I read something to you from something that I did a couple of years ago?
Yeah, go ahead.
So give me 1 second. I get this. So a few years back, I don't know if you can read this, but I wrote something. I did a 10-year vision statement. And the 10-year vision statement was to say, hey, in 10 years, what does my life look like? And it's long, it's framed. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. I'm going to bore you guys. But what I will do is I'm going to read the end of it, if that's okay to you. I've got 2 paragraphs. You ready for me to go?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've gone through this whole thing of saying, hey, this is what my life looks like. This is what I own. Here's where I'm living, blah, blah, blah. And then I say, as a means to pay back, I'm active in my community. My neighborhood knows me and respects me and my family. We've helped raise money for school trips and bettered people's lives around us. In sum, I'm a devoted husband and father. I have a dramatic impact on the lives of those who I am affiliated with. I live each day in thanks for what I've been given, and I appreciate all that I've accomplished. I recognize that all of my accomplishments are not mine alone. I have had the tremendous support from friends and family in a variety of different capacities, social support, financial support, and general benevolence, which have all been extreme contributors to my success. I couldn't have made it without them. Not to mention, what good would any of this good fortune be if I had nobody to share it with?
Wow. Yeah. I like that. Awesome.
Okay. So now you want to talk about education.
Yeah. Well, just before you, I want to say, I say it every time I'm on the show. I always mention my grandfather. And when I was a little kid, and my grandfather used to say, hey, come here, boy, come here. And he said, come on, I'm going to give you a nugget. And I was like, a nugget? And I'm looking at his hand thinking like there's a nugget in it, but it's just his hand. He wanted to say something that was important to me. And I've been saying it each week that individuals get on here and they give nuggets. And also, like, I love the commercial back a few years ago with Damon Lillard and Kevin Love, when they were doing the commercial. I think it's an insurance commercial or something. They were dropping dimes, right? Modern day, in modern day, in the past it was nuggets. Today, modern day is dropping dimes. Well, you just dropped the dime because you dropped the nugget. For those who know what a nugget is, a tool. And you heard me say earlier that the podcast is about making communication a practical application, right? And so you just showed a practical application. You thought about something. You thought about what the next 10 years look like, and it said, and you wrote it down, right? And then you can view it, over and over again. So that's a nugget. That's a dime. You should write, what you see yourself, where you are and where you're going and where you would like to be. I would say in the next 3 to 5 years, in the next 5 to 10 years. Adam is just giving you something, food for thought. Do it. Sit down and do it. Don't procrastinate. Get it done.
Well, listen, it's the same. If you think of any successful CEO, you gotta know where you're going. Otherwise, I forgot to quote something about an udderless ship has no direction.
That's
so
right.
The same goes for your life. So where do you want to be? What do you want to do? If you don't know, how are you going to get there? So that's what companies do. Hey, I want to be the biggest I don't know, I want to own the best franchise, in basketball. Well, how do you do it? Okay, that's number one. You got to set that goal, and then you got to back into it. How are you going to do it? Well, you got to have a good team. You got to have good infrastructure. You got to have, got to be in a good market. I mean, there are all these things that have to go into it, but you got to have the vision. Then you got to break it down into digestible, small goals to get you there. So, yeah. Success leaves clues. So I didn't invent this. This is something that I learned from other people, and just put it to use.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. And so hit me with some education stuff.
We talking school of hard knocks. We talking regular education. What are we talking here?
Well, just how important it is. I mean,
it's not everything, but it's a lot. I mean, as Warren Buffett says, the single best investment that you can make is in yourself. I think I've heard you say that before. I'm sure you've said that before, but it's true. I would agree with that. And then I would also like to add a caveat. It's when you also invest in your relationships that you will have a better return on that investment. So, the education comes in so many different forms. It's not just in school. That's what, some people learn in school, some don't. And now the world, because it's, for good or bad, it's changing at a massive rate. There's something called Moore's Law. Have you ever heard of that?
I got a law.
It's the opposite. Instead of load more, it's Moore's the Moore's Law. It's a real thing. And essentially what they're saying is that technology every 18 months is just doubling. So if you start thinking about that and then they say by, I think, I forgot the year, but 2041, we're going to hit something called singularity. And that's where artificial intelligence and human beings are on the same page. That's far out there, but whether that's going to happen or not, at some point it's going to. But whether it's going to happen in 2040 or whatever year they're projecting, the point is things are changing like rapidly. So you've got to stay educated. You've got to stay one step ahead. You've got to, you need to evolve or die. And I hate to be so really not positive about it, but it just is what it is. So you've got to keep moving. You've got to keep learning. You've got to make yourself better. You've got to talk to people. You've got to just increase your knowledge at all times. And I don't want to scare you, but I want to scare you. It's important.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting because today, on my way home from church, I was listening to Bob Proctor. Oh,
I love Bob. What were you listening? What was he doing?
He was talking about thinking, and he was a guest on the show, and I think Bob is in his late 80s or something like that.
Yep.
But he was the energy in which the vibration and frequency and energy in which he was sharing, right? He didn't show any signs that he was thinking about like, I'm tired, I'm giving up, I'm going. He started saying about where his company is going to be, coming out the pandemic and positioning itself and where it's going to be in the next 10 years. And what he's going to be doing in it. I was like, that's the kind of mindset is what you're talking about, is that. And what I was saying earlier, right, how important it is. In Dr. Miles Monroe, he talks about, he was always buying books, more and more books. He said you should always invest in yourself, right? And you invest in yourself by finding the best books, right? And also investing in yourself, not only just in books, but in people. Who are you? Who you're talking to? What are you listening to? Right. And so if you're going to create or build a wealth mindset, it's a question of what you're listening to and what you're reading and what you're watching.
Yep. You just got to keep feeding the brain. And, I'll tell you something really interesting about Bob Proctor. I think he's 80, 84, he's getting up there, but Do you know that he already has the Bellagio booked for his 100th birthday? Because he's envisioned it. He knows it's happening. He's got it booked. He's got a lot to accomplish, he said. So he's all set. The Bellagio is 100th birthday. How about that?
Ah, nice.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I think that's what we're talking about. We're talking about like everything starts with our thinking, right? And so everything starts with Bob talks a lot about paradigms, programs. You know, what do you program? Either program for failure or program for success, right?
Yep.
You can be programmed to just never get past the glass ceiling, never to break it, right? And you know, so let's talk about that. Let's jump into that a little bit more and just about that mind and you know, some of the things first of all, with education, right? How did you come to this niche of what you doing?
Sure. So it's really interesting how that happened. In a nutshell, I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. I graduate Quinnipiac. I get a job on Wall Street. I was very fortunate to be able to make it to a trading desk early, because everybody that gets on Wall Street thinks they want to be a trader or an investment banker. Quickly realized it's not really of interest to me. Got recruited to start a division of a recruiting firm, recruiting people on Wall Street. So I did that. I was fairly successful at doing that. Then my boss took me to another firm to do the exact same thing for another company, built a financial staffing division. After doing it twice, I figured, why don't I do it myself? So I started my own search firm, did that for a bunch of years. And while I was doing that, I simultaneously built a little real estate portfolio. I also started a career coaching business, and I also started a resume writing business that I sold. So did all that kind of stuff for a bunch of years. Had a client of mine, ended up becoming a good friend. When I told him that I was interested in selling the business, he told me he was starting a hedge fund. So I started immediately working with him. And then with our fund, what we did is we would lend money to athletes and entertainers. Then we got involved in the NFL concussion case. I got involved with an insurance agency that catered to athletes and entertainers. And it just did a bunch of like really interesting businesses. And I was so lucky, or I should say that people used to tell me, oh, you're so lucky, you get these great jobs and you're doing these cool things. And I used to say, yeah, you know what? I am lucky, because I knew, having been a recruiter for all these different types of businesses, that even people with MBAs from Harvard don't get to do some of the opportunities and the experiences that I've had. This guy from Quinnipiac with an undergrad, having the opportunity to interact with all these people that were significantly smarter than me. But what I did have is I had relationships. I had great relationships. And, it's called networking, not net funning. So I had been spending all these years building some fantastic relationships that put me in a position to do some of these cool things. So back in 2017, I had something very bad happen to me. And had it not been for some of these amazing people that were in my life, I could have gone a different route, but they did. People stepped up, they helped out in so many different ways, and it made me really value the relationships that I had built. And then I started thinking about, well, what about, gosh, again, am I so lucky? What would, if this happened to somebody that didn't have the kinds of relationships? I can see people committing suicide. I can see people committing crimes. I can see a lot of bad things happen when you get put in certain situations. And again, that could have easily been me had I not had these kinds of relationships. And then I started looking around and again, thinking about the conversations that I had about people, that are significantly brighter than me, gone to different schools, done more things, but yet not having near the success that I've had. So I saw an opportunity, and I started NetworkWise, which is, an organization. Again, what I do. I mean, you saw that little commercial, those who are watching, but essentially what I do is I help equip individuals as well as organizations with that like networking mindset, so they can accelerate outcomes in sales. They can accelerate outcomes in career opportunities. If you want to be an entrepreneur, or just your life in general. And that's what my organization does. It teaches people to understand what networking is, what it's not, and how it can benefit you in so many different ways in life. And I teach people and I provide them with a roadmap on what they can be doing, whether it's to get a job, whether it's to start a business, or whatever it might be, to be able to solidify, build, and then also nurture those relationships. So did I just go on a soapbox and give you a long soliloquy?
Yeah, you did, but it was good. It was good. And I think you threw out a number of, well, at least one great big nugget.
Okay.
Relationships. Well, that's a great big nugget, and we can't underemphasize the word, right? And the meaning and understanding of that, the importance of it, right? Yeah. It's everything. Whether you're working for somebody or whether you're owning, relationship building is one of the major keys. And you also said something else too that I wanted to go back, jump back to real quick. You talked about when you wrote down what you were going to do in the next 10 years. I look at that as a plan. I mean, one of my favorite scriptures in the Bible says, a people or organization without a vision will perish.
Yeah.
Write the vision down, line upon line, precept upon precept. And so what you were talking about is have a plan, strategically have a plan, and also how important it is to have relationships. And so when you're creating a mindset, building a mind, a wealthy mindset, or creating a wealth mindset, I mean, those are two real key nuggets there, right? That's very important. And so, yeah.
You need those I mean, listen, a strong network with relationships are going to help you to fill some of the most interesting, unique, and challenging situations in life. So, I mean, there's a gentleman by the name of Ron Burt. He's a very famous, I think he's like a social scientist, but he teaches at the Chicago Booth School of Business. It's arguably the #1 MBA program in the world. And he's a leading expert in something called network science, which studies relationships. And he came to the outstanding conclusion that the #1 predictor of your career success is having large and open networks. There's a polling institute called Gallup. And according to Gallup, the #1 predictor of career success, you'll never guess, relationships. I mean, I'm sorry, what'd you say?
No, I was emulating you, relationship.
There it is. You're pulling it up. That's impressive. On call. This is good. Yeah, I mean, it is.
So you have a few things like that. I got a few of them. I got some few pictures of you, and a few of those sayings there.
Nice.
Or quote, because I believe in the power of quotes. Nice hat. Too. Like the hat, man. Kurt was on the show. He had a hat like that, man.
Ooh, nice. I like it.
Yeah. Look at that.
Yeah. It's impressive.
Yeah.
Guys did your due diligence.
Yes, I did. So, here's a couple of I was looking at while I was going through. I had pulled some names because I had seen one of the names up there. You had a quote from Zig Ziglar, who was one of my
Zig.
Look at that, on time, right on time. I love Zig from back in the day, man. I love Tony Robbins. I love Les Brown, John Maxwell, and one of my favorite quotes is by T.D. Jakes. And T.D. Jakes is a pastor out in Dallas. He said, if you're the smartest one in the room,
get out of the room.
Find the room where you feel stupid and get in it.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I got one for you. What you know, what's the biggest room in the world? The room for self-improvement.
Ah, yes. The room for self-improvement. I'm gonna steal that one.
Yeah, I stole it from someone. Go for it. I don't remember who, but, you know.
Yeah, like my good friend Greg White. He's a motivational speaker. We played basketball against each other. Of course, you know, back in the day, Earl Nightingale.
Oh yeah.
You know, and Chris Gardner. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen that Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith.
Is that Will Smith?
Yeah, he did the movie Pursuit of Happiness.
Yeah, that was a great movie.
Yeah, and Chris Gardner is one of the top motivational guys as well as financial guys, you know, around. You know, Ralph Waldo Anderson. Ralph Waldo Anderson.
Oh, Waldo, yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, the guy Joseph Murphy.
I don't know.
He did it on The Science of the Subconscious Mind.
Ooh, there's a lot there.
Yeah. So, hey, welcome. You know, on the Blueprint, we're just talking back and forth. Remember, this is interactive. So if you have any questions, man, you want to pop up on the screen about networking, relationships, wealth building, you should pop a couple of questions up here. Just don't listen, get interactive. You know,
yeah, like that. Yeah, I'm happy to do that. And if there are people that are listening right now, I'm happy to walk them through a challenge that they're going through in their life, and I can show them how their relationships can help them. So, you know, whether it's, I don't know, getting a job, being in trouble, whatever, you know, looking for a doctor, whatever it might be, everybody, I don't care who you are, you know, we all have some issues, some challenges that's going on in our lives right now. Or we know somebody that is experiencing some kind of challenge. And, you know, it's nice to be able to kind of walk through how we can leverage our relationships, because people want to help. You know, it's, you know, we are good by nature, and we want to help. And when you know how to kind of build the relationships and then also tap into those relationships for good, everybody wins. 1 + 1 = 3.
Yeah, yes. And so, yeah, if there's any questions out there, yeah, just pop them on if you're out there. I mean, I know everybody sits around wanting to be rich, right? And as I said last week, you know, Dr. Miles Monroe talks about the 7 spheres of wealth. We just happen to be talking about the mindset and resource. We already know the importance of spiritual wealth, mental wealth, physical wealth, social wealth, influential wealth, community wealth. I mean, Adam mentioned that earlier about the importance. Am I good for my community? You know, those things are important. But we, you know, and one of the reasons I wanted to come and have this conversation about wealth, you know, because most of us don't think about wealth. And I had a conversation with a young man who was a professional athlete, and he was telling me he wanted to purchase a number of things, right? And I said to him, and I think he got upset when I told him that he was rich, but he wasn't wealthy.
Yep.
Right. And you know, and I tried to explain that if you were to stop playing now,
yep,
right, would you survive? Right. And without ever playing again or ever working again. Right. And I was explaining to him is wealth is when while you're asleep, your money is making money. right? And so we don't think about what wealth is, right? And even though I think there's a mindset that we don't want to think about it. We don't, oh man, that's selfish to be thinking about wealth, right? But so many of us have aspirations and dreams, not just for ourselves. We all want to be comfortable, right? Just for ourselves, but we all dream about if we can solve the issues of poverty, if we can feed people, if we can build a school. We all have these dreams, these dreams about helping people, right? But helping people takes resources.
It does.
Right. And so those who are wealthy, right, can not only are they a blessing to themselves, but they become a blessing to other people as well. And that's the kind of wealth I'm talking about, is that I'm good, but I got enough resources that I can help others too as well. And we got to change the mindset. Yeah. What's your thought about?
I agree with you. I mean, and how I look at wealth. I had a friend by the name of Steve Sims. He wrote a great book called Blue Fishing. I think you'd really like it. He speaks your language also, and I can send it to you. But he wrote, money is not wealth, relationships are. And oh God, I forgot who said this, but like rich relationships are actually the currency of the wealthy. But yeah, I mean, listen, yeah, I agree with what you're saying. It's
and it's like how we got connected, right? I mean, my good friend Hugo, who was on the show a couple of weeks ago,
Hugo's the man.
Every time I'm talking to Hugo, he's every now and then he just bring up, man, you got to talk to my man Adam, man. Adam's going, you got to talk to him, man. He's all about relationships, and stuff like that. So, he hooked me up with you, and we had a conversation. He was on the show. Now you're on the show, and that's how, like you said, relationships are important. And I pride myself on having good relationships.
Yep.
And you know what? And respecting those relationships.
Good point. Great point.
Can
I walk you through? I try to tell people that you never know who you're talking to. And like Tim Ferriss, he says, he famously said that you never know who could put you on the front cover of the New York Times. And how you don't, just because people you don't think that they can immediately benefit them, don't discount them. So if I want to walk you through how you and I connected, if you don't mind. I'm going to back into this. It's going to take a little bit, but I think it's important for people to understand how you and I came to how today happened. So I'm going to rewind 15 years ago. I got introduced to somebody who ended up becoming a client of mine. The client referred me to another client. That client ended up becoming my business partner, who I referenced before when I said, hey, we started a hedge fund. That person ended up introducing me to somebody that got me an opportunity to play basketball in Teaneck. In Teaneck, I got the opportunity to play basketball with Hugo. Hugo and I ended up becoming fast friends. He ended up coming. I have a podcast also. He came on my show. I mean, I don't know how long ago that was. It was probably 5 years ago when we first met. And thanks to that relationship that, with Hugo, I was fortunate enough to meet you, and here I am today. So had that 15 years ago, and all those different people, had all those things not happened, I would not be here today. That's right. So I can't stress enough the importance of never discounting who you're talking to, not just building the relationship, but maintaining the relationship. And here we are today. Here's a good example.
Yeah, that's awesome. I don't know if you guys are listening out there. Sometimes you do shows, and some interviews have what I consider is the entertainment impact, right? And sometimes people want to be more entertained than to want to literally want to learn.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, the purpose of the blueprint, you know, is about vision, is about dreams. And I tell everybody, in order to build a building, you know, build a house, you start with a blueprint, right? Is, you know, you got to have you got to write a plan, get the blueprint together. And, you know, because you want to see where you want to put everything at and where everything goes and all the dimensions with that. And I don't know if people want to know and understand process, because that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Process. And what you said earlier, hey, this is what I'm going to do 10 years from now. I wrote it down. And then you said, you know what you said? Because, you know, one of the most important things for me, and I think when I was a little kid, the thing that caused for me to be successful, when I was a little kid, like 9, 10 years old, my first basketball team, my coach was talking to me, talking to the team, and he said the most valuable thing you could ever do is learn to listen.
Ooh.
Right?
2 ears, 1 mouth.
Yeah, right. And so listening in the art of communication is the most important thing, because if you didn't listen, you haven't gained understanding, and then understanding, you can't put it into practice.
So, you know, it's really interesting that you say that. Listen and silent, it's spelled with the same letters.
I like that.
Yeah, someone brought that to my attention. Again, I can't take any credit for it.
Yeah, probably Hugo. He comes up with these things.
He probably did. He does, man. He just comes up. I just want to hear what the word of the day is with that guy. Hey, how's it going? You know, I'm on this side of the earth or whatever. Like,
yeah. He always says to me, man, you can't drive a parked car, man. You know.
I think one of the last ones he dropped on me, I'm like, hey, you know, how you doing today? He goes, you know, some days you're the dog and some days you're the hydrant.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Hugo, man, I love it. Awesome, you know, and so yeah, let's get into this a little bit more in regards to, you know, how do you start, you know, thinking? Because I think it comes down to clearly, you know, learning how to think. If you're going to build wealth, it's learning how to think. What is, you know?
Man, that's a golden question. I mean, you know, I think you touched on this earlier. It's just about a mindset. You know, I mean, you need to have that proper mindset. And you know, you quoted Zig Ziglar before. I'm going to throw another one at you. Another Zig quote. He says, "Your attitude, not your aptitude, is going to determine your altitude." So, you know, it all starts here. You know, and if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So that mindset, it's a muscle, and it needs to be trained. And if you don't train it, and if you're not using it like a muscle, it's going to atrophy, right? So, and again, it is everything. Again, getting back to the mindset and perspective. Albert Einstein had a really good quote. He said that you know, if you don't think, I forgot how he said it, something about the importance of a mindset and perspective. And he said, just put it this way. He goes, you know, an hour sitting with a pretty girl on a park bench can pass like a minute, but a minute sitting on a hot stove can feel like an hour.
Yeah. Yes.
You know,
that's
so
good.
So you got to have that mindset. You got to have, and it's got to be, you know, the mind is like a parachute. You know, it functions best when it's open. So, you know, keep that mind open. Keep the mind open, but stay focused on the goal, and create those habits. You know, you posted that you know, one of the quotes that I had about, you know, that people, you know, you don't decide your future. You know, your futures are decided by your habits. So again, having the right mindset, creating some of those habits, practicing them so they don't atrophy. You know, discipline's going to take you where motivation can't.
Mm. Yeah, and that's why I kept when I don't know if you know Hill Harper. You know Hill Harper?
I don't.
You know of him?
No. Yeah.
Yeah, and Hill comes on. He's one of those bright guys, man. Harvard graduate. And Hill is just an important. Just powerful. And his son was young guy. I don't know, his son maybe 4 or 5 years old, and he was already giving them affirmations.
Really?
Yeah, and he knew all of them. I mean, he
Yeah.
knew whatever 20 or 25 of them that they were going over, and he was just quoting them. He just pop up on the show and he just started quoting affirmations.
Wow.
And those things are important. We just don't know how important they are. And one of my favorite sayings is, faith and fear both attract.
Yeah.
And fear attracts the negative, and faith attracts the positive.
Yep.
So if you're going to build wealth, if you said it earlier, right? If you think you can, you can, and, so if you think you won't, you won't. And if your mind is set in fear, and Bob Proctor was talking about this earlier about the difference of fear, right? And it's important not to get over into that mindset of fear and poverty and all that mindset, right? But to get your mind thinking on those things that are prosperous.
Yeah. Do you know what the acronym FEAR stands for?
Give it to me.
False expectations appearing real.
Yeah, false expectations appearing real.
But there's another one that I can't remember the name of it. I can look it up, but yeah, false expectations appearing real. So just think about that.
Let's do a little I think we mentioned it earlier as we come to a towards the end of the show. We were talking about earlier. I'm trying to gain a mindset of, all my life I've always worked for somebody. Right. And of course, that's a paradigm. It's a program. When we go to school, we graduate high school, we graduate college, and we always said we're going to work for somebody. We're going to go to work. We're looking for a job. We're trying to find a career, and we're always dependent on somebody else. How do you change your mindset? For those who are out here now, in regards to at least looking at what it would actually take to be an entrepreneur and to build wealth. So,
man, that's Pandora's box, and we probably should have started with that. But so there's a lot to unpack there. First and foremost, you got to think about. Are you talking about like starting a business, or you're just talking about anything in general? So that'll help me to
talking about starting a business. Let's right there.
Yeah. So starting, I mean, if you have a good idea, that's one thing. But if you just want to kind of start a business, that's a whole other thing. Because a lot of people think, hey, I just don't want to work for the man anymore. But I can tell you, you got to think about all the things that go into having a business. There's so many things that go into the business. There's so many risks that are involved. The highs, the lows, and are those things that you're ready for? Those things that you're willing to take? Can you stomach that? Like, there's so many things that you've got to think about. And I don't want to scare anybody about it, but there's just legitimate things that you need to think about. So I can even tell you myself, and I'm sorry to make this about me. I'll pull this back, but I've started a bunch of businesses, and I've been very fortunate in a number of them, but I have not been also. And I can even tell you, in this latest iteration of a business, it really hit me that I'm not a CEO. I am a founder and I am a creator, but I really need a yin to my yang. And that's something to, that I wish that I kind of came to that conclusion earlier, because it's cost me a lot of money and a lot of time, and it's cost me a lot of sleep And it's cost me a lot of other things to figure that out 3 or 4 years later. So those are things that's really important to think about prior to getting into the mindset, because it would be a shame to think, hey, I'm going to start this company, and then you lose faith in not being able to do that, or not to be able to accomplish what it is that you were looking to accomplish. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but those are the things that you got to think about first. So let's assume that you've got an idea. You've got this idea, you know it's going to work. Then you got to think about getting back to the blueprint. You got to blueprint it out. How is it going to work? And you've got to think about, again, the bigger picture goal of what it looks like. What is it that you're serving? What's the value that you are giving? And how are you going to get that out to market? How are you then going to charge for those services? Who are you going to get to help you put this thing together? Because there's so much that gets involved when you're starting a business. Everything from even just the basics of setting up your company. Do you have an accountant that's going to give you the right advice to set it up as an LLC, S corp? Or is it, again, what state are you going to put it in? Then do you have a web person? There's some basic things that you need to pull together. Is someone going to help you in the administrative side? Are you going to get a partner? Are you with me still, Lowe's, or am I just kind of going again on another tangent?
I'm with you. For all those out there who are listening, it's good. It's good information. It's good knowledge to have.
And then you got to think about, who's your target market? Precisely who is going to pay for the services that you are interested in providing, and then, maybe you might, when you start going through all this, it's overwhelming. How are you going to afford it? How are you going to live? Are you going to raise money? And then what you might think is a really good idea, most people aren't. So do you have it in you? Even myself, I've raised money multiple times, and it takes much longer than you think. And then there's sometimes where you're just not going to get the money. It just doesn't, you've got to, because then you got to be able to create a pitch deck. And do you know how to do that? If you don't, do you have the resources, or do you have the connections to get help to do that and to get it done right? And there's a lot, do you have the technology? Again, lots of things to think about. And then you might come to the conclusion like, wow, that's overwhelming. Maybe I don't want to be a business owner, but maybe I want to be a partner. So that's where maybe you think about, okay, well, who do you know in your networks, or what are some industries that you're interested in? And then reaching out to some of these people and saying, hey, I like your business, or I like your business plan. Here's something that I bring to the table that I think is worth being some form of partnership. I don't know. Maybe you get sweat equity if they've already got something farther down the road. Or maybe you do have some money that you can invest to make yourself a partner. Am I going on another tangent here, or are you following me?
Yeah, I'm following you. Yeah, definitely. No, it's good. It's good information for those out there who are, interested in starting businesses.
And I don't want to dissuade people from starting a business, but there's just such a low success rate. And a lot of times, a lot of these things can be solved for. So, like now side hustles are big, so that's a nice way to test ideas, test hypothesis, do things like that before kind of going full in. So I like that idea.
Well, yeah. Also, I joined in a group here. I was talking to one of my friends that works for the county of Westchester, mm-hmm. and they have what they call Westchester Launch 1,000 new businesses.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, and so I'm in the second phase of, I think it's like 7, 8, 9 phases before you start spending money and doing all these different things.
That's great.
Yeah, so you say what it is that you are trying to accomplish, and then in the second phase you forget about that and you go out and try to help others build their business, or find out what the pain and problem or opportunity is.
It's a good idea.
So I'm trying to get through phase 2 of this process, and so I can get into phase 3, and I'm sure it's going to go down to the different phases it's going to go down until you finally come up with a product you're worth either, spending your time and resource on.
So that program sounds fantastic. And now what I would recommend to you or anyone else going through that program, you're obviously getting access to some pretty interesting people. You're getting access to advisors. You're getting access to other entrepreneurs also, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
As well as other people that are going through the same program too? Or is it more mano a mano?
Everybody's on a whole network of people who are coming up with new launches. And, twice a week we're in a workshops from, about what's going on. And then on the Wednesday, you're having a workshop with somebody who's started a business, in a business, and what their process was when they were going through it.
So, okay, that's great. So what I would do, first of all, if you can get an opportunity to go into one of these programs, highly recommend. And then while I'm going through that program, I'm connecting with the other people. And I'm talking not just during the set time that you're supposed to talk, but I'm going to learn to get to know those people on a different level. And what I'm going to do then is I'm going to do whatever I can to contribute to them. I'm going to try to do anything that I can to make myself valuable and to try to help them and to show them first that that's how I operate. Because you might go through this program and realize, you know what, my idea wasn't that good, but you know what, she had a good idea. And then maybe you've built some relationship with her and said, listen, I think your idea is good. Here's what I bring to the table. Are you interested in having somebody as a partner or somebody who can help you in an early stage? Or your idea might be fantastic, and you might, if you had spent the time to meet with some of these other entrepreneurs or people that are thinking about it, you'll be able to recruit them over to you. As I'm sure you know, as an athlete, you've done a lot of recruiting in your day.
Oh yeah, definitely. Try to get them to come and play with you. Yeah, correct.
So same concept. Now you're just playing in a business setting. Same concept. You're looking for the same thing. You'd be surprised at how someone's game, how it shows up in the boardroom. You learn a lot about them. Are they an assist person, or do they need the ball all the time? Are they going to be the ones that set the screens for you? Or whatever that might be. But the same goes for in business too.
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt. So as we come down to a close, I got a couple of questions for you.
Go for it.
Let's see here real quick. Who is the person that most impacted you outside of a family member?
So I don't have one, but I don't have one person per se. I take something from everybody, and it's funny, you mentioned so many of those people that I've taken stuff from. I mean, we're talking everybody I take from, whether it's Tony Robbins in the world that he preaches about continuous self-improvement, or Napoleon Hill and, all the principles that he talks about, as well as like the Bob Proctor on mindset, Joe Rogan on, just the way that he conducts a conversation with a podcast, Wim Hof or David Goggins on just mental toughness, all the things that you can do outside of what your mind thinks that you can do. Then there are all these people that I've just been fortunate enough to meet in my life, learning their habits, their discipline, things that they do just in the daily life they've all contributed. I aggregate all of their personalities and their experiences, and I try to glean from them. So, I'm sorry that there's not one person per se that I can single out. I just feel very fortunate. I feel like it would be criminal if I gave one name when there are just so many other people that have had some kind of impact.
Yeah. Hey, no problem. And you so before we get off, you got a few more minutes here, about 10 more minutes. You have something that you would say to a young person or young people out here in regards to, building this wealth mindset or just anything impactful in regard to relationship or networking?
Yeah. High level, play the long game. You know, most people don't. They fail to plant the acorns, which grow into the massive oak trees. Play the long game. Again, you and I, we're here thanks to a relationship from 15 years ago. And by the way, every single one of those people that I've mentioned, I'm still in some form of contact with. You know, someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago. And, you know, I think that's important to really think about. So number one is to play the long game. You know, number two, get a mentor, minimum of one. I believe in something called a personal board of mentors. That's something that I'm very fortunate to have. I actually have a couple of different groups of mentors. And when you have a mentor, you're 70% more likely to get a promotion at work if you have a mentor at work. People with mentors are 5 times more likely to receive, I think it's promotions. They're the ones that receive that make more money. They're the ones that are happier. So, you know, it's just so important. And I think you talked about this either earlier in our conversation, or at least it was on one of your other shows that I was watching. And it's something that's pretty common, that, you know, you become the average of the 5 people that you hang out with the most. You know, I'm talking about their attitude, their health, their wealth, just everything. So let's go back to a basketball analogy and think about those 5 people and think of them as your basketball team. And why don't you surround yourself with all-stars? You know, if you've got 5 all-stars on your team, you're going to win the game of life. So I mean, you know, look at your circle, and if you're inspired, or if you're not inspired, I should say, you're in the wrong circle. So, you know, I really, you know, surround yourself with great people. Select a personal board of mentors, people that are, you know, formal mentors, people that you're setting up some form of regular cadence of conversation that it's formal. Like, hey, you are my mentor. I want to learn from you, and you'll reciprocate, and then also just surround yourself with great people. You will not go wrong. You just can't. You just won't. There was you know who General Stanley McChrystal is. He's a 4-star general. I think that's the highest you can be. And he was on Tim Ferriss' show, and he was asked, you know, what do you do? It's a very, very similar question. And he says, you got to surround yourself with, there should be 3 kinds of people that you know. Someone that you truly admire, that's senior to you, that you want to emulate, that made it the hard way. You want to surround yourself with a peer who is better than you. And you also want to surround yourself with someone, I got to remember how he said this, someone below you that's doing a job you did before, but better than you. Wow. I think that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I hope you're listening out there. that was good. I like that. Yeah. So as we come to this close, let's talk a little bit of basketball.
Woo! Now we're talking.
Yeah. So you were mentioning earlier when we were just about to come on the show, you asked me, am I watching all these things that are happening with the play-in? What was your thoughts?
In terms of, do I like play-in, or what do you mean?
You were asking me, am I watching? You know, like, definitely I'm watching.
Yeah. Do you have the NBA channel so you're able to catch all the games?
I do.
I don't, because I know I'll watch every one of those games.
So it's a benefit not to have it.
No, it really is. I wish I could. I would just sit all day and just watch it, you know? So,
Well,
It's remember I talked about that discipline.
Oh yeah. So I mean, I'm sure you're going to take the time out to spend time with your family and get your recreation on and do your work. So your icing on the cake is you get to watch ball.
That's it. The playoffs are single-handedly my favorite time of year.
Wow. So who you have?
I don't have anyone. I can't. I think that this is the first year that I can remember that it is just a toss-up. Who do you think's taking it? You've got a favorite? I mean, I know you're partial to Golden, but
yeah, I'm partial to Golden. You know what? I haven't found, like last year, I just kind of really knew that the Lakers and the team, the chemistry that they had seemed to be the dominant team. I can't really see. Everybody want to say Brooklyn.
no.
And they have all the potential. They have all the talent. They have everything. They haven't really played long enough together. And the NBA is a different animal. The NBA playoffs is a different animal. It's a different monster. And so when you get there and now you're playing a 7-game series, adjustments. And I don't know that they are tough enough. The Nets are tough enough when it comes down to the physicality and what they're going to experience night in and night out.
Well, what about just wait for them to lose a game or two and then they start fighting? That's where I think they're going to go down.
Yeah, I don't know that they will, because I would say that if they were younger.
That's true. That's a good point.
If they were younger, I probably would say that. But they're a little bit more mature now. And
they're a team of veterans.
Yeah, they have a lot of veterans and they have a lot of experience. So yeah, and if they're healthy, that's the big key. Same thing with the Lakers. If they're healthy, nobody's proven yet, like your Milwaukee's, your Clippers, that they can be, or Utah or the Nuggets, whether or not they could actually do it. I mean, I thought the Nuggets last year were close. They were to, making something happen. I don't know if the trade was good for them or not. When they made
for the guy from the Bulls.
Well, they for the Nuggets, they traded the other guard that they had alongside Murray.
Oh yeah, but he comes back.
Got Gordon, and they got Gordon. I don't know if he's, again, it comes down to injuries too. Murray got hurt. I mean,
he'll be back.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't see a clear cut. I think potentially Brooklyn has all the tools.
Yeah.
And then you can never count LeBron James out.
Can't bet against him.
Yeah, but so I don't know. I'm like you. I don't know. I'm gonna toss it up in the air.
And you don't think the Suns are Utah, right?
I think they have all the potential too, and with Chris Paul, he's the deciding factor in regards to his mentality, and if he can take them along with them, it's like Michael Jordan used to take them along with him.
Yeah.
And so it's a possibility. Would I like to see somebody different? Yeah, possibly. I think all of them. That's what I say. It's so you just don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. God, I love it. I just can't wait for it to start. And the play-in, I'm okay with it. Change it up. See how it works. If it doesn't work out, people are upset. Then okay, go back. But
everybody was playing harder. I know that much. Everybody's like,
100%. That's why I'm like, let's give it a shot. Let's try it. You got to mix it up. Again, getting back, you got to evolve or die. Try things out. Keep it going. Keep it moving.
Yeah. Well, Adam, I think our time is up, man. I want to thank you, man, for taking time out your busy schedule, man. Apologize to your family for me taking you away on this Sunday evening.
They're probably happy that you took it.
Thanks again, man. I appreciate you, man, and enjoy the rest of the week. And for all those who support the Blueprint, I thank you. And I want to say, man, be blessed tonight. Have a blessed weekend, man, and enjoy it, man. Wake up tomorrow and just enjoy life, man. Enjoy your family, man, and just have a good time, man, in this lifetime. So, again, I look forward to next week with my. I just met this gentleman, and we feel like we've known each other for a while. David Bennett is coming on about the mission in the marketplace, man. He's in from Bank of America, and we're going to talk about building or creating a wealth mindset. God bless you, and have a good evening.
Thank you very much.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode of Lowe's More, the Blueprint podcast. Stay connected and follow us at our website, www.lowesmore.com. That's LOWESMOORE.com. You can also join the discussion on Twitter at Lowe's More and on Facebook at Lowe's More Jr. As always, thank you for pushing your mindset towards a better reality. This concludes the most thought-provoking portion of your day. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast to stay fully up to date with everything we're up to. Until next time, be kind to yourself and each other.
What they teaching is a joke. I ain't buying it like I'm broke.